1990 saw the world grow a little closer as the Cold War ended and the Berlin Wall came tumbling down. The Purdue campus embraced this changing world order through a new emphasis on internationalization in education. Purdue President Stephen Beard, himself a native of Germany, talked about the importance of this trend.
We held a conference here in January which culminated a year and a half of effort to try to focus ourselves globally, to teach Chinese and Russian and Japanese, to look for collaborative opportunities with countries abroad. We currently have 18 such programs. In order to be competitive as a performer in the 21st century, one has to be a citizen of the world. And so we want to turn out engineers and ags and pharmacists and scientists and humanists who have that international dimension.
This international dimension received a boost in May when a Japanese cultural festival was held at the Memorial Union. Demonstrations included flower arranging and kendo fencing. Another type of festival was held in December when the Black Cultural Center sponsored its annual Cultural Arts Festival. This year's event was part of the 20th anniversary celebration for the BCC. Antonio Zamora has been center director for 17 of those years.
The general purpose of the Black Culture Center is to acquaint all people with the African American experience, its lifestyles, its culture, its heritage, and so forth. We have a dual purpose, and that is to reinforce the notion of self-identity among African Americans and to create within them a positive self-image, and at the same time to reach out to the non-Black community and to provide for them mutual understanding and certainly self-respect among the races.
The festival featured performances by the Jahari Dance Troupe and the New Directional Players.
I watched you two grow up.
Well-known comedian activist Dick Gregory came to campus to help with the Black Cultural Center celebration. Another celebration in September honored the 50th anniversary of the Elliott Hall of Music. Over that time, some 15 million people have attended events in the hall. With more than 6,000 seats, it's the largest such auditorium in the world. Indianapolis baker Linda Schunk prepared the world's largest proscenium cake for the occasion. This 1/40th scale model of Elliott Hall was sculpted with styrofoam, sugar, and icing. One event held in the Hall of Music was the second National Rube Goldberg Machine Contest. A team of Purdue engineering technology students canned the competition from 3 other universities by designing a 42-step machine to screw the lid on a jar. Fun is an important part of student life at Purdue. The new fountain continues to make a splash with students. They also experience thrills at the Grand Prix Carnival. Some of them take part in the annual raft race down the Wabash River, while others dance to the latest sounds at local night spots. The students often combine fundraising with fundraising as they generate contributions for many local and national charities through events such as the Greek Carnival on Memorial Mall and a hot tub-a-thon at the Phi Delta Theta Fraternity House. $500 donation. Student volunteers also help raise money for Purdue through the annual phone-a-thon in January. The 3-week event raised a record $1 million from 80,000 alumni. A few lucky contributors got a chance to talk with President Beering.
Mr. Green, this is Steve Beering, President.
The monies that we get through the phone-a-thon are unrestricted, but are used in the main for student scholarships. We have an immense budget, which in all of its components now tops $1 billion a year. However, only about 30% of that budget for annual operations comes from the state of Indiana, so that the vast majority of all the amount of money that is required to run this university has to be pulled together from other sources.
An additional $10,000 was raised for scholarships from Grand Prix in April. Women's groups warmed up the track with traditional bed races. The 50-mile go-kart race was won by Doug Hodgson of Lebanon. Grand Prix coincides with Gala Weekend, when alumni return to Purdue for their class reunions. The classes parade to John Purdue's grave to honor the university's founder.
It's very easy to be excited about Purdue University. So many of our graduates during Gala Weekend and homecoming return and speak in terms of what I am today, I owe to Purdue University. And that's quite a legacy, and it's quite true. It's acted out daily in the lives of successful individuals around the country.
Gala Weekend also featured dedication of the newly named Hicks Undergraduate Library in honor of Senior Vice President Emeritus John Hicks, the dedication of the new Schliemann Hall of Student Services, named for former Dean of Women Helen Schliemann, and a cornerstone laying ceremony for the new Class of 1950 Lecture Hall. A time capsule was placed at Schliemann in November. President Bering praised the Class of 50 and its $1 million gift during his State of the University message to more than 700 alumni at the Founders Day banquet.
Obviously, it offers the most advanced technology and teaching equipment, but more importantly, it offers a meeting place where we can tell the story of knowledge and the story of Purdue.
The state-of-the-art Class of 1950 Lecture Hall was dedicated during homecoming. Another homecoming dedication took place for the new handicapped access ramp for the Hall of Music, donated by the Class of 1990. Agricultural alumni gathered in January for the annual Ag Fish Fry, where they bade farewell to the Executive Secretary of the Agricultural Alumni Association, Maury Williamson, who retired after 37 years. A member of the Class of 1950, Williamson's dedication and sense of humor will be missed. Another swan song at the Fish Fry came from longtime ag communicator and assistant to the dean, Horace Ace Tyler. Williamson introduced his successor at the Gala Weekend Ag Alumni Breakfast. She's Donia Lester from Georgia.
All I'm going to be doing is meeting more and more new friends. Thank you so much for the warm reception you've given me today.
Alumni had a beautiful fall day to return to campus for homecoming, check in with the Alumni Association, admire student decorations, sample the fare at the first Taste of Tippecanoe, watch the crew club practice on the Wabash River, and eat lunch with fellow graduates from their individual schools. The ever-growing alumni band returned to fire up the fans before the game and delight the Ross-Ade crowd during halftime. Tri Delta sorority's Terry Dapper from Indianapolis was crowned homecoming queen. At the homecoming banquet, President Bering talked about how Purdue remains an educational bargain.
Our peer institutions in the Big Ten, our peer institutions throughout the land charge 1/3 to 1/2 more per semester than we do. An in-state student now pays in the neighborhood of $6,500 for fees, room and board, books, all expenses except pizza and beer are included. And an out-of-state student can get the same deal for just over $10,000.
Remain pretty much the same.
As they do at so many alumni activities on and off campus. The Varsity Glee Club topped off homecoming. Purdue continues to evolve into a global community. A record number of international students, more than 2,300 enrolled in the fall. These students represent some 100 foreign countries. Other enrollment records were also set, with a system-wide student population exceeding 58,000.
And within that quantity of students, there's a standard of quality that is higher than it has ever been, whether you measure it by standardized tests or high school performance. By stressing recruitment and retention, we have continued to increase the numbers and success of all students, including minority groups and women.
After students moved in for the start of another school year, they attended classes ranging from computer technology to calculus, from small animal surgery to hearing aid construction. Some health sciences students spent the year interning at an Indianapolis hospital as they capped off their training to become medical technologists. Other students, such as food science major Renee Evans, spent part of the year working and learning at a cooperative education job site. Graduate students such as these National Science Foundation Fellows delved into challenging research projects, like finding a treatment for cancer.
If you think of the cells in the body as being cars moving at their own pace, cancerous cells are like cars that are out of control. My approach is that a car has to have a stopping mechanism to prevent it from going out of control. So in my research, I am looking at is what is, first of all, that stopping mechanism and what controls that stopping mechanism, what turns it on and what turns it off.
In addition to teaching, faculty conduct research to find solutions to a multitude of problems. A $5 million grant from NASA was awarded to 5 Purdue researchers to study ways to sustain human life in outer space.
Okay, good.
Education professors Tom Scruggs and Margot Mastro-Pieri designed a new teaching method that greatly helps learning disabled students.
And the overall effect is that students learn from 2 to 3 times as much information, are able to remember it better over longer periods of time, and are able to apply the information and comprehend it better, and that they're able to apply it in some cases to their own learning.
Horticulture professor Randy Woodson is using a machine called a gene gun to blast new genetic information into plant cells in hopes of giving petunias and carnations improved characteristics.
Propulsion of the particle into the tissue results in the DNA moving into the tissue with the particle and then being incorporated into the plant's own genetic makeup, and therefore it transforms the plant.
The gene gun was featured in a display by the School of Agriculture at the Indiana State Fair. This was just one type of science presentation by Purdue people in 1990. In April, chemistry professors demonstrated the fiery and explosive effects of certain chemicals.
Help me start by counting to 3. 1, 2, 3.
In the fall, students and faculty performed physics demonstrations at schools around the state, as well as during the popular Physics Fun Fest on campus.
I don't think the amount of physics that they pick up is very great, but what we're hoping is the motivation factor and the excitement factor is what they're going to pick up. And if they get excited about it, they want to know more about it, which is really what we're trying to do, then they will tend more to study it in the future, or at least have an interest in science that may not have been sparked before.
Members of the President's Council saw a sampling from the Physics Fun Fest when they returned to the campus in November.
And probably my all-time favorite is the bed of nails, where we have a person lie on a bed of nails, and that always amazes people that they can do that, and it's a simple physics principle of force per unit area, or pressure.
1, fire.
Long known as the mother of astronauts, Purdue expanded on that metaphor in July with its first Aerospace Institute. 2 activities for the 100 high school students included launching model rockets and simulating construction in space by building underwater. 4 Purdue graduates who've flown on the space shuttle were honored with Engineering Astronaut Alumnus Awards in October. They included Roy Bridges, John Casper, Michael McCulley, and Don Williams. A summertime celebration came to campus for the first time when the 4th of July concert and fireworks display for the Lafayette area was moved to Slater Hill. Another fireworks display took place on Slater in April as part of the traditional 1812 Overture Twilight Concert by the Purdue Symphonic Band. The band department had a busy year that included marching on slick pavement in the Indianapolis 500 parade. The queen for this year's Indy 500 was Purdue graduate student Vanessa Lee Baird from Greencastle.
Isn't she pretty? She is lovely. She's captured.
The jazz band performed a concert by the Fountain in July. And of course, the All-American Marching Band kept fans entertained on football weekends. A new set of featured twirlers performed with the band, including Golden Girl Holly Fairman from Aurora, Girl in Black Angela Sword from Adrian, Michigan, and Silver Twins Lisa and Renee Rhodes from Peru. In some respects, the band and pregame tailgating were the highlights of the football season, as the team sputtered to a disappointing 2-9 season. This hastened the departure of Coach Fred Akers.
I've decided to resign and let this program hopefully go forward under the tutelage of someone else.
Former Boilermaker assistant Jim Coletto was soon hired from Ohio State to take over the football reins.
6 years ago when I left here, and I don't think George would feel uncomfortable with this at all, I told him that any time this job ever came open, the first guy he was going to get a call from was me. And that happened 4 years ago, and it happened again. So I felt awfully comfortable here when I lived here and coached here and enjoy the people here. I've got a T-shirt at home that says first time ever Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Michigan, and that's really all I'm interested in. I want to get back to that situation.
The new Mullenkoff Athletic Center was dedicated in June with an open house. The facility, containing a practice field and weight training room, was named for Purdue's winningest football coach, Jack Mullenkoff, who coached from 1956 to 1969. Athletics also added modern electronic scoreboards for football and basketball. These scoreboards display statistics and animated graphics to enhance fan involvement. Both men's and women's basketball teams had super seasons that culminated with the NC2A tournament. New banners in downtown Lafayette helped generate fan enthusiasm. The men's team, under coach Gene Cady, surprised the experts by ending the season rated 6th in the country with a 22-8 record, after preseason polls picked the Boilers for the bottom half of the Big Ten. Along the way to finishing second in the conference, Purdue swept both games from downstate rival Indiana. When Purdue landed in the Midwest Regionals in Indianapolis, fans poured into the Hoosier Dome to cheer on their Boilers. The Alumni Association and the athletic department hosted a pregame pep rally at the convention center next door. Cady's kids advanced to the second round, where they lost a heartbreaker to Texas.
And Texas can't get the roll. Here comes Purdue.
The fall 1990 campaign got off to an encouraging start with a boost from the antics of the famous chicken and an early season record of 8 wins and 2 losses. The women's team, under coach Lynn Dunn, ended the season with a 23-7 record and ranked 15th in the country. They reached another milestone by advancing to the Sweet 16 in the NC2A tournament before losing to Louisiana Tech.
I think it's very important that we realize that it's happening awfully fast. And for us to have accomplished what we've accomplished in 3 years is basically unheard of. And I think with excellent, outstanding recruiting, with having a tremendous institution like Purdue, with its academic reputation, I think all those kind of things kind of come together, and it's really created an opportunity for us to have immediate success.
With the return of all starters, the 1990-91 team came back stronger than ever with an early season record of 9 wins and no losses. The Boilermaker volleyball team also served up a winning season, finishing with a 21-11 record. One of the team's biggest victories was over eventual Big Ten champion Wisconsin. A major construction project got underway on the Central campus with the raising of the 83-year-old education building to make way for a much-needed classroom office building. This $28.5 million facility will be the first new classrooms built on the West Lafayette campus in 40 years. It will house the School of Education and various departments from the School of Liberal Arts when it's completed in the spring of 1993. 1990 was the first year Purdue students elected an African American as president of the student government. Taurus Richardson from Bellwood, Illinois, helped organize a Hands Across Campus rally that saw students from a variety of backgrounds join hands and encircle the fountain, followed by the quick run through the water. Another first for minorities took place with the appointment of Robert Taylor to the Board of Trustees. Taylor is Production and Technical Services Director of Eli Lilly. The special concerns of minorities and women on campus will be handled by a newly created administrative post. Judith Gappa was hired from San Francisco State University to serve as the first Vice President for Human Relations. Vice President and Dean of the Graduate School, Robert Ringel, changed titles and became Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs, following the decision of Vero Tyler to return to teaching. Former Calumet Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, James Yackel, was named Chancellor of Purdue Calumet, following the retirement of Richard Combs. All of the regional campuses continued to experience record enrollment, including North Central and Westville. North Central added a new Bachelor of Science program in Biological Sciences. President Bering kept busy in May reviewing 500 cadets in the ROTC programs and speaking at North Central's commencement, as well as ceremonies at the other 4 campuses. About 10,000 students received Purdue diplomas in 1990. At the West Lafayette campus, graduates took part in a grand procession around Engineering Mall. As it does each December, the Purdue Musical Organization's Christmas show signaled the close of another year. About 30,000 people get into the Christmas spirit at the 5 sold-out shows. This year's show also saw the debut of one of 2 new organs donated to the hall by the class of 1940. As President Bering noted to alumni at the Founders Day banquet, the year 1990 saw Purdue make great strides in advancing the frontiers of knowledge.
At the end of the earth, or the frontier of knowledge, or the cutting edge, whatever we want to call it, is the natural place for Purdue. Purdue leads and does not follow. This applies not just in research, but in everything we do. Your university has always looked for better answers to old questions and for the new questions that no one has yet dared to ask.